Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a updated complete guide for ADC Ashe, of course for patch 4.3a onwards. And of course, as I said, this is the ADC carry version of Ashe, but as usual, don't forget to check out Ashe's basic guide that I put in the cards up above for her skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, as well as combos. But without further ado, let's jump straight into talking about her loadout. So basically with Ashe, what I like to do is get 3 attack speed items first and then go into full damage. So my first attack speed item is generally going to be Blade of the Rune King. So Blade of the Rune King is really good because of course you get a large amount of attack speed, of course a little bit of AD, but you get the physical vamp. But the most important part of this is of course the Ruin Strikes and the Drain passives. So of course with Ruin Strikes you do on hit health damage, and of course we all know Ashe. Like Ashe doesn't do a lot of damage, so this like Ruin Strikes like passive, especially against tankier champions, is actually a lot of her damage. And Drain, giving you the additional magic damage as well as of course stealing people's movement speed, really useful for Ashe, of course because she already slows people, and combined together with this movement speed steal allows you to either chase down people or to kite them out. So generally I go for Berserker's Greaves, of course for the attack speed as well as the attack damage. However, you also can go for a lot of other brute options. You can go for Gluttonous Greaves for the Omnivamp if you like. You can also go for defensive boots if you're into very heavy AD or AP comms. And you can even go for the Ionian Boots of Lucidity for the cooldown, because Ashe has a pretty long cooldown on her W and her Q as well. So getting, of course, the Lucidity Boots for the cooldown, and even your E actually, so getting Lucidity Boots for the cooldown is actually really helpful. So next up, your second attack speed item, my favorite choice is actually Rune and Hurricane, because I found with Ashe, a lot of times like you team fight and there's multiple people you can hit at the same time with Rune and Hurricane, which of course applies the on-hit from Blade of the Rune King, together with of course the slow effect from your passive onto 3 people at once, which I find to be really helpful and helps to increase your damage output tremendously. However, some other options you actually have is actually you could go for Phantom Dancer, which I have played quite many matches with. Of course, this is kind of the go-to attack speed item ever since it released, but currently I prefer the Rune and Hurricane just a little bit. So this one of course does give you a little bit of AD and gives you 30% attack speed, but when you stack it up to maximum, it gives you a total of 55% attack speed as well as the movement speed for your kiting purposes. Another option here is also the Slurry Charge Blade. So Slurry Charge Blade gives you ability haste and attack speed, but of course whenever you cast spells you do also get that bonus on hit magic damage. Now the reason why I think this is the least useful is because Ashe's cooldowns are pretty long, especially in the early to mid game, and you don't really build ability haste with this build, so your W cooldown is not going to be very short and you can't really take advantage of the passive all that much. Now your third option is going for Wit's End. Wit's End, of course, huge amount of attack speed, magic resist, and of course deals on-hit magic damage and allows you to heal when you're below 50% health. This is really only taken against a very heavy AP team, like let's say 2 AP assassins, like let's say you have a Dynamite, Echo Jungle kind of thing, then you could of course opt for this. So after you get your 2 attack speed items, you want to go for Infinity Edge as your third item. This gives you the huge injection of AD that you need. Don't forget this gives you no AD and this gives you only 20 AD. So this is going to give you a huge amount of AD as well as of course bonus crit damage. So generally I only go for my boot enchant after I complete the IE, because I don't want to delay my IE too much, because that's a major spike for Ashe. Then armor penetration, we go for LDR for armor penetration as well as most importantly the crit. And finally we top it off with a shield bow, which is going to bring us to 100% crit as well as give us of course the lifeline shield when we drop below a certain amount of health. Now another option instead of LDR is also to go for Maul Reminder if you're versus a team that has a lot of healing. Of course this would mean that you wouldn't get 100% crit, but 75% crit is still still alright, not too bad. And for the runes, I know a lot of people take Conqueror or they take even Lethal Tempo on Ashe, but personally I've always been of the opinion that Ashe has to take Kraken Slayer, because if you take Lethal Tempo, you attack really fast but you do no damage. If you take Conqueror, it works as well, but just Kraken Slayer is just my personal preference. I love taking Kraken Slayer because whenever you of course hit people 3 times. You're gonna of course proc Kraken Slayer, which is gonna allow you to deal true damage, and it scales off of your 30% of your bonus AD. So having the attack speed from the Blade of the Rune King, the Berserker's Greaves, and the Renaissance Hurricane is gonna help you proc Kraken Slayer more often, and when you finally get AD from IE and LDR as well as Shield Bolt, it's gonna scale well into the late game as well. For the rest of the runes, we of course go for Brutal for the unhit damage against champions. We go for Coup de Grace, of course, to finish off low HP champions more easily. Giant Slayer is also an option, which is actually what I went for in the gameplay you'll see later on. And I like to go Bloodline, of course, for the healing. You could go for Alacrity if you want, but I think that there's enough attack speed from these 3 sources. Now your secondary rune, there really is quite a number of options. In the gameplay later, I actually did take Cheap Shot, which gives you 10 to 45 extra true damage whenever you impair enemy champion's movement, which basically for Ashe is any ability or auto attack is going to impair that movement because the slow counts as a movement impairment. So it does have a 7-second cooldown, so it's not something you can spam, unlike Weakness, which was a way better version of Cheap Shot, so you do have a couple other options. Your first other option is to go for Bone Plating for defensive capabilities. You could also go for Perseverance into heavy CC teams, and you could also even go for Transcendence to get faster cooldowns from the ability Haste. And you can even go for Mana Flow Ban because Ashe is very, very mana hungry. So really, it's a lot of personal preference based. I did take Cheap Shot, but honestly, I feel Cheap Shot probably isn't the best one. I would say probably Transcendence might be the best one, or maybe even Bone Plating for defensive capabilities. And for the spells, Flash together with Ghost. Of course, Ghost helps you a lot with kiting in and out of fights. Combined with your slow, your kiting is going to be absolutely insane. But if you're into a comp which has multiple threats on your life and is able to dive backline, you can opt for Exhaust instead. So all that out the way, let's jump straight into talking about the gameplay. Okay, so let's take a look at our gameplay itself. So of course, as usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And guys, don't worry, I will be sure to do a updated complete guide for Support Ashe when I eventually do play her. Haven't been playing Support Ashe for quite a while. I haven't been playing the support role, as you guys can see from the Senna video a couple of days ago, but I haven't really been playing Support Ashe all that much because I normally can get my hands on Senna. But anyways, so we're gonna jump straight into the video itself. So, honestly, after playing Damage Ashe quite extensively, I played Damage Ashe quite a lot. I honestly think she's not that bad. Now, don't get me wrong, she still does less damage than almost every other ADC, but she really doesn't do like negligible damage. I feel like there was a point in like Ashe's life in Wild Rift where like, regardless of whether it was because of runes, items, or like the meta, it just really felt like she did like no damage. I feel like even if you played the lane right and you like outplayed your opponent, or like you played perfect and your opponent made mistakes, it felt like you just simply didn't have any kind of damage to compete with your opponent. Whereas now it actually feels that if you play Ashe properly, you can actually compete with damage versus your opponent. Of course, if they play well as well, you're probably going to be at a disadvantage because Ashe simply doesn't do as much damage because she has more utility than them. So it probably isn't going to work out for you. But here in this video, I'm going to show you guys how as Ashe you can still carry. Kind of mini spoiler here, but we do end up doing like the most damage in the game if I remember correctly. And it really shows you how Ashe still can be played as a carry and not just a support. The new rune system definitely did help her out a lot, but of course it helped every other ADC out just as much. So you really can't really say that, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, so here we're against a Twitch and a Blitzcrank. So Ashe's biggest strength here. I hate how like the gameplay just lags out whenever like one of your friends comes online and that notification comes up, but you can't really turn that off. Anyways, the biggest strength Ashe has here is, as you guys can see here, she has amazing range. So, in case you guys didn't know, in terms of base range, Ashe has the second highest base range. The only high range is Caitlyn, which basically makes her a good matchup in the Caitlyn because Caitlyn can't abuse her range as much because she has almost the same range as Caitlyn. And furthermore, it gives her a really good matchup into majority of other ADCs. It really is support dependent on how bad or good Ashe's matchup is. Like you see here against a Twitch, I actually have a really good matchup against him because I have very long range and I'm able to attack him when he can't attack me. However, because of the Blitzcrank, I have to play safe so that Blitzcrank doesn't kill me. Of course, here Nyla goes all in. We're able to actually pick up a kill onto the Blitz, and here the Twitch flashes in, and I'm able to actually trade the kill 1-for-1, which in my opinion is pretty worth considering that they invested the gang and they ended up we ended up overall trading 2-for-2, and kind of basically made it such that the gang was a little bit nullified. So overall 2-for-2 trade. Unfortunately, the kill goes over to Soraka for the Blitz kill, but it is what it is. So as I was mentioning before, basically how good Ashe is in lane is really dependent on how useful the enemy support is. Generally, she's better. Ashe is better like played into engagers or slash tanks compared to enchanters. Enchanters are generally more useful in the lane. So basically, like for example, this matchup you guys can see here, I'm just focusing the Twitch since Twitch is focusing my Soraka, and I just kill the Twitch just like that. Like you see, her damage is not negligible. You do enough damage. And really in this lane, I just need to play around Blitzcrank's cooldown. So if Blitzcrank doesn't have hook, it basically allows me to play aggressive. So the moment he uses hook, you guys can see I'm stepping up to abuse the Blitzcrank and abuse the Twitch because I outrange them by quite a fair margin. So when they use their, when Blitzcrank uses his hook, I can just walk up and attack. Of course, I do have to be a bit wary of a Twitch all-in, but so long as I'm not horribly positioned near that tower, I should be able to escape if Twitch decides to all-in me. So regardless, here you can see we're doing relatively well in the lane. We're 2-1-1 at the moment. On the verge of completing our Blade of the Rune King with, of course, the item components that we have. Here we go, back for Blade of the Rune King. And as I mentioned in the rune section of the video, I chose to take Giant Slayer this match because the enemy team is pretty tanky. Of course, you have Set, who's building health. You have Galio, who will be building Rod of Ages, and he'll be having health as well. Blitzcrank, of course, is going to be building health as well. So really huge Giant Slayer value. I think if you can get Giant Slayer value of like 3 and above, you definitely want to take Giant Slayer on any ADC. If it's 2, it kind of depends like on your playstyle and the situation, or what you feel like for that match. But if it's like 1, definitely don't take Giant Slayer. Take like Coup de Grace, it's going to be way better. But since this match we have like 3 Giant Slayer value targets, we're going to go ahead and take that Giant Slayer. So here, since Twitch is alone, we're trying to, of course, get a little bit of tower damage and see if we can get a little bit of poke onto the Twitch. Here you can see that basically both teams have rotated for Herald, and Blitzcrank is now down at the Herald. Since I still have my Soraka with me, we are, of course, as I said, trying our best to get tower plates and trying our best to abuse the Twitch. So we steal his fruit, we get a little bit of poke on him, and by a little bit, I really mean a little bit. And we're also trying to get some tower plates. So we're here, we're just trying to force in the minions and trying to get the tower plates. You can see that Nyla, who's their jungler, has already secured the Herald. And here we're trying our best to try to nullify that situation by getting as many tower plates as we can. Now, of course, they're now coming up for Dragon, and here I'm setting a trap. Now, here, unfortunately, I missed a point-blank arrow, which is pretty embarrassing, but I am able to get the exhaust in on the Twitch. Twitch flashes to avoid the R from Ori, and Ori manages to kill the Nyla. And honestly, I'm pretty annoyed with this Ori. She ends up KSing me a lot. So that's like the first one. She KSs me from the Twitch. Here, Blitzcrank comes in, and we're going to try our best to kill the Blitzcrank. She KSs the kill on the Blitzcrank as well, and we're not able to get that kill either. Or rather, it's, yeah, so she KSs the Nyla kill, KSs the Blitzcrank kill. Here we spot Twitch backing, and we're going to hit around the whole wall, and he basically doesn't pay attention, probably shopping or something, and does end up reacting a little bit slow, which allows me enough time to get up the last auto and get basically a free kill. So we also managed to secure the dragon in the meanwhile. And here I'm just getting a little bit of tower damage, but honestly, we're not going to have enough to get a plate, so not too much of a point in the grand scheme of things. Probably should have just went for the minions instead. So here we're completely out of mana, and we of course got gold that we want to get for a reset. So what we're going to do is we're going to push in the minions, and we're going to of course get a reset. Okay, so now here you can see we picked up our Berserkers, Greaves, and next we're going, of course, for Rune and Turricade. So honestly, at the start of the game, most of your damage is coming from Kraken Slayer, which is another reason why I like taking Kraken Slayer, because even though you don't have the AD to scale with it yet, you still have, of course, the base numbers, which is still pretty decent. And of course, you can, of course, combine that together with your auto attack speed. So here you can see we nearly get destroyed by Blitzcrank hooking us and Twitch. just spray and pray. However, we are able to get healed up by Soraka. Honestly, if we didn't have a Soraka here, we definitely would have just died. But thankfully, because we have a Soraka, we are able to actually survive. And we honestly should have died there, but we just survived by the skin of our teeth. And hey, definitely not going to complain about that. Although that is the case, the enemy team does manage to take our tower, so we do have to now play more cautiously and wait for the minion wave to come in and clear it, and we can't just simply step up and clear the minion wave. So here, honestly, against their composition, I actually think Ashe is pretty good, because Ashe is really good into champions who are kiteable. Now, Set is one of the very, very kiteable champions in the game, like champions like Set, Garen, Darius, so easy to kite because they have no mobility, no dashes at all. Galio is actually also relatively easy to kite, even though he has a dash, because normally Galio uses his dash to engage, so if you can dodge the engage, you can generally just kite him out because he shouldn't have his E up for quite some time again. Now, of course, champions like Nyla not so easy to kite because she has 2 dashes, and Twitch is a ranged champion, you can't really kite him, but Blitzcrank, so long as he doesn't hook you, is also very kiteable, so I actually think that Ashe is a really good ADC to play into this particular enemy team comp. Here I actually try to snipe the Nyla with my arrow, but unfortunately it hits the Blitzcrank who's on the way to walking the mid lane instead, which is pretty unfortunate. But it is what it is, so we don't manage to secure that kill onto the Nyla. Here I'm actually checking how much I need for Runan's Hurricane, and it just so happens that my goal just ticks over to have just enough for Runan's Hurricane, so I actually back to pick up the Runan's Hurricane. And obviously every item you get is going to be a huge spike. Here, until items are still a pretty strong spike, but of course we don't have the AD from IE as of yet, so not the most powerful yet, but of course we're still in pretty good shape. So here Blitzcrank once again tries to hook us over the wall. This time we managed to react in time and step out of the way. And here you can see that we're just checking out the vision status. So you can see Blitzcrank is rotating. Master Yi is about to get kind of collapsed on by basically everybody here. But looks like he's safe. No, he's not. He gets engaged on. But speaking of engaged on, Twitch engages onto us. We managed to actually land the arrow and the exhaust. And actually we didn't even exhaust him. We managed to land the arrow. And the Ori is able to just finish him off with the ulti. So here our next mid wave is coming in. We're just picking up the mid wave. And here not too much is happening. We're waiting for objectives to spawn, which is basically going to be the dragon spawning in 10 seconds. At the same time we force down the mid lane tower, and we're now going to rotate over to the dragon. Nyla is on the opposite side of the map, together with Set, so this should be a relatively free dragon control ward to prevent any enemy vision. And here we're just going to basically just burst down the dragon. Galio for some reason tries to flash in, not sure what he's trying to do, and he basically just donates a free kill over to me. Master Yi flashes over, tries to go for kills, and we manage to land a nice W onto all of them, but Nyla goes unstoppable by killing Yi. I flash over because I want to shut down. I get the point and blank arrow into her and manage to get enough damage. Here you can see me kiting the Set. So Set's trying to chase us here. We're simply just kiting him out, and he tries to flash away, but the slows prevent him from running too far away. And of course we get KS by Orianna again for the 3rd time in the match. And here now we're going to go ahead and take this tier 2 tower. It's a hero tower secured. Orianna picks up the whole wave as well. Now we're just going to back and of course get some items because we have got a number of kills and objectives on the map already. So we have quite a lot of gold. You can see we completed both our BF sword and our cloak. Of course, really close to BF sword at this, not BF sword, very close to IE at this point. Red buff share is up, so we're gonna take the red buff. And checking where Blitzcrank is really. The biggest threat on this team to me is actually the Blitzcrank, because one hook from Blitzcrank and I'm just instantly dead. Anyone else isn't that big of a threat. Even Twitch, who just appears out of nowhere, isn't too big of a threat, because as we have seen, at least at this point in the game, he's not able to just burst me down with 3 auto attacks in the E as of yet. So if he tries to go on me, I normally just exhaust him or ult him. Generally I survive. Haven't actually died to that yet. So Twitch isn't even that big of an issue. It's mainly really the Nyla not Nyla. It's mainly really the Blitzcrank who's the issue, who can just pull us in. Actually, I think Nala probably is an issue as well. She's 6 and 2 really fed, but haven't really encountered that problem yet. So now that we know Blitzcrank is here, now we know, to track him and where to look out for. So we know he's over there in the mid lane, and we know it's safe to walk around bushes. He of course has a penchant for just sitting in the bush and just hooking us in, which he has already done like twice this match, I believe, and he tried to do it like another 1 or 2 times more, but we just didn't get hooked. So, knowing that, we want to of course be cautious and not fall for the trap. So here we finally complete our IE, which, as I mentioned, is going to be a very major power spike for us. And this is where, in my opinion, the damage Ashe fully comes online when you get the IE. Now you're really going to do not absurd, but you're going to do, really good damage, and at the same time have all your utility of like your slows, your vision, your ult, etc, etc. And yeah. So here the only objective up on the map is Baron, and there really isn't too much else like our team can do. It's just playing the macro game, I guess, of like pushing and controlling waves, or like maybe starting up Baron if the enemy team goes to the wrong side of the map, things like that. Here you can see I'm just trying to get some poke in on Nyla. Nyla tries to go in on to the Ori, which is obviously a really bad idea. Twitch even commits his ulti to it, and here I know we can catch someone who's running away. So here I'm just walking forward and seeing if I can spot her. I spot the Nyla, I go for the ulti onto her, I hit the ulti, and this allows Orianna to follow up and get the kill. So here, Galu tries to come in. Here I'm just kiting him out. He has to flash away, dodge the Blitzcrank hook, trying to kill the Twitch. Twitch flashes out as well. Here I'm trying to hit whoever I can, hitting the Blitzcrank a little bit. Doesn't end up killing him, but we basically can see that the kind of damage that we do now are forcing people to just flash away in fear, because if you don't flash away from an Ashe, she's gonna run you down, because the 20% slow on your autos, they're not getting away. So either way, with all of them like in the base restoring health, we're able to secure a mid lane inhibitor, and now we're gonna go ahead to top lane and try to do the same. So here you can see over the wall, I'm going to auto-take the Gale. Look at the damage that I'm doing. I actually was really tempted to flash in to finish the kill, but I didn't want to like put myself in the middle of 4 people. That would be really bad. Let's not end the game away. Let's play conservatively and just close out the game. So here red buff is up, Master Yi is picking it up, and I'm going to just get the buff share. At the same time, I'm going to recall. Dragon's coming up in 25 seconds, so we're going to recall, reset, get our resources refilled, and of course get some items. We're picking up, of course, the stasis, and here I'm actually picking up of course going to build the Maul Reminder in this game instead of the LDR, because there is a lot of healing coming in from the enemy team. Set with the Divine Sunder, Nila's general kit has a lot of healing, and yeah, a lot of healing on the enemy team. So here just basically staying away, just kiting away from everyone. Here I managed to get the ulti onto Twitch, get the kill onto Twitch. I'm really low, I'm going to stasis Galil's ulti, and I'm flashing away from the Blitzcrank. Unfortunately, I can't kill Blitzcrank, he's too tanky, and he slowly but surely is able to kill me. Honestly, if he didn't have ult, I think there's actually a relatively good chance I just kite him away and I actually just end up escaping. But unfortunately, the ult just burst me down. And you can see here Orianna is trying her best to kill the Blitzcrank as well. But you can see it's not really working. Blitzcrank is just so tanky with the Amaranth Twin Guard. And finally, she is able to finish off that kill. In the meanwhile, you can see Nasus is just going for the base. So everyone on the enemy team is dead. He's ulting, he's just smacking the base, and just off of that, we pick up the victory. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Of course, pay particular attention to how much damage Ashe can really do. And with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.